my channel. My name is Dheandra Nicolette, and on my channel you'll find everything spirituality, lifestyle, and wellness. Basically all the tools, tips, and things you need to manifest and create and live your best life. And today, my loves, we're chatting all about monthly goals. So if you follow me on Instagram, I asked you guys if you wanted me to do a video on monthly goals, and of course y'all said yes, so here we are. We're doing that video today. So if you are someone that has struggled with creating monthly goals in the past, you struggle with sticking to your goals, you struggled with figuring out what your goals should even be, this video is for you. Go ahead and strap in. All right, give this video a thumbs up if you enjoy it, subscribe if you're not, and let's go ahead and chat about how to set and achieve our monthly goals. Now, the first step when it comes to creating your monthly goals is to have categories for your goals. I do this, and ever since I've started to do this, which was about, I would say maybe like 2 or 3 years ago, it has changed the way that I set my goals completely. Now, when we think about goals, I think a lot of us just kind of want to jump into like, let's set a goal, let's create something that we're working towards, you know, and we want to just dive into actually setting the goals and trying to work towards achieving them. However, when we talk about goals, we're not typically working on one goal at a time. We're working on multiple different goals that have to do with different areas of our life in order for us to create a very fulfilled and enriched life. So this is why categories for your goals are super important. So some categories that I use for my goals include health and wellness, finance and money, career goals, manifest daily goals, which for you could be personal business, or it could be something like content creation if you are a content creator. And then I also have like book goals / learning, self-development goals as well. So before you dive into creating a list of goals that you want to work on, think about the categories that your goals would fit into and write a list of your categories. I would recommend maybe like 3 to 4 categories. You might even get up to like 5, 6, or 7, but just write down categories for goals that would essentially help you to create a well-rounded and enriched life. Now, my next tip is going to be breaking down your yearly goals. Now, this is going to be a tip to help you actually figure out like what are the monthly goals that you should be even creating in the first place. Now, I know that whenever January 1st comes along, everybody and their mother always sets some type of big goals and stuff like that, and I love that, okay? I love the vibes of like a new year, fresh start. You know, time literally does not exist, but for the sake of this video, we are definitely pretending that time exists. But I want you guys to look at your yearly goals or your yearly resolutions and figure out how you can break those down into monthly goals. Now, a really good example for this one is money, because a lot of times when we start the new year, we are thinking about saving. Maybe you're saving for something big like buying a house, going back to school, or maybe you just want to build up like your savings plan or whatever the case is. And obviously money is like very important to our world. It is something that we are using as currency for exchanges in our world. So it is important to have a good like grasp or a good relationship with money. Now, if you have a big goal for the year, so say your goal is saving $12,000, then you can break $12,000 down into saving $1,000 every single month. That makes your goal seem way more attainable, way less daunting, because when someone says, I'm gonna save $12,000 in a year, it's kind of a big number and it's a big goal. But if you approach it in the sense of, instead of saying like, I'm gonna save $12,000 in this year, you look at it in the sense of, I'm gonna save $1,000 each month, and that's gonna add up to $12,000 at the end of the year. It makes the bigger goal seem way more attainable, way more reasonable, and you feel as if you're going into it like, I can do this, versus going into it feeling like you just don't know how you're gonna achieve that goal at all. From there, you can break your monthly goal down even further, and you can break it down into weekly and daily goals. Now, the whole like basis of doing this is to basically make it very, very, very achievable. Because when you're setting a goal, a lot of times you're saying that you're going to achieve something that's a little bit out of your grasp. It's a little bit challenging. It's something that kind of makes you a little uncomfortable. And by breaking it down into, you know, from yearly into maybe even quarterly, and then going into monthly, weekly, daily, it can feel very, very, again, attainable and like something that you can actually achieve. So going back into our $12,000 a year example, if you're someone that gets paid at your job bi-weekly, maybe that means that every single paycheck you are putting away $500, because if you get paid twice a month, that's $500 each paycheck, $1,000 in a month, and $12,000 in a year. If you get paid weekly, of course, that's gonna be $250 every paycheck, and so on and so forth. So breaking your goals down from monthly to weekly and daily can help you figure out how to incorporate the action steps that you need to in your everyday life. Another good example for something like this is, say you have a wellness goal and your wellness goal is to cut down your sugar intake. What you can do then is look at the habits that you already have that is contributing to your sugar intake and figure out how you can sort of create new habits around that. So say for example, you're someone that loves Starbucks. Hello, I might be talking about myself, but say for example, you go to Starbucks every single weekday, right? And you're saying, I get this like, salted caramel mocha pretty much every day at Starbucks. And you're like, girl, I need to cut back on those, because one thing about them drinks is, baby, they gonna add up, and two, they have a lot of sugar. So say you're trying to cut back on your sugar intake. Instead of going to Starbucks 5 times a week, you can set a goal and say, I'm gonna commit to only going to Starbucks 2 times a week max. So by doing that, you're still allowing yourself to live your life. You're still allowing yourself to enjoy something that you do enjoy, going to Starbucks, getting your coffee, having that morning routine. But now you've created a goal around how many times you want to go to Starbucks that contributes to your bigger goal of cutting back on your sugar intake. Another big tip when it comes to setting monthly goals is to set your monthly goals a few days to a week before the new month starts. If you're waiting for the new month to start before you're thinking about the goals that you want to achieve for that month, you are already a little bit behind. And I know this is not, a competition or anything like that, but I feel like when you go into a new month, and if it's like April 1st and you're thinking about your goals for April on April 1st, you probably won't have a good list, a solidified list, a list that you feel good about of goals until maybe the first week of April is done. And then by then you've lost a week of April. Now you're trying to implement these goals and you can feel a little bit chaotic and hectic and behind in all of these things. So today is March 27th, for example, and today is the day that I'm going to be writing down and thinking about my goals for April. We still have a few more days left in March, but what I'm doing is I'm looking at the goals that I set in March. I'm looking at what I achieved, what I did not achieve, what I want to work on in April, what I want to switch up for April, and just basically going into the month of April knowing that I took a look at what worked and didn't work in March, and I can go and make the list for April that makes a lot of sense. My next tip for setting monthly goals is to set goals that feel challenging to you but don't feel impossible. Now, I've touched on this with a couple other tips I talked about in this video, but when you're setting a monthly goal, you want to set something that feels a little bit like a stretch. Like it feels like you're gonna have to do some work to get to it. It might be something that you've never done before. It might be something that you've never fully committed to before, but you want to set something that's not exactly what you've done before. Otherwise, what is the point of setting the goal? So whether it be a fitness or wellness goal, whether it be the number of books you want to read, whether it be learning a new skill, whether it be saving a certain amount of money, whenever you're setting that goal, try to set something that feels like a little bit of a stretch, but at the same time doesn't feel impossible. When you set really, really big goals that make you feel really just like it's not going to happen, it impacts the way that you take action towards the goal. For example, back to our money goal, if you were to say, I want to save $50,000 this year, but your annual salary is $55,000, that's gonna feel a little bit impossible for you, because it's going to introduce the question in your logical mind of, well, if I only make $55,000, how am I supposed to save $50,000 while still paying my rent, while still eating, while still doing all the other things that I have to do in life? And of course, there are things that can happen in the world, such as, you winning the lottery, you coming into some money from a family member, like all of these things that can happen that can bring money to you, that can allow you to make that happen. However, for the sake of goals, you want to think of what are more of the the logical things that can happen. So looking at your $55,000 salary, what's an amount that you can actually put away each month that may be a little high, but you can still afford to put away while still, again, paying your rent, paying your bills, taking care of yourself, and still having a little bit of money left behind for fun. So this takes us us into the next tip that I have for you guys, and it's actually going to be to write down some manifestations as well. So every single month when I write down my list of things that I'm working on, I actually call it my goals and manifestations list. So if you go through my phone and my notes app, you're going to see a lot of goals and manifestation lists, because of course I make this every month. So for April, it'll say April 2022 goals and manifestations, and then it has my categories, and then it has my goals for every single category. Now, what I love to do is not just write down the things that I just mentioned are all logical, are all things that I know I can actually work towards, that are for the most part within my control. But I also like to write down manifestations, which I consider the ones that are not fully within my control, not fully something that I can make sure it happens, but it's something that I'm saying, I'm gonna put this out there in the universe, and I'm gonna still take action, inspired action towards this thing, and I'm gonna hope and pray that if it's my time, it happens this month. So whenever I write down goals for content creation and for Manifest Daily specifically, I will write down a bunch of goals that are within my control, but I'll also write down manifestations that are not fully within my control as well. So this adds a little bit of magic to my list, and I think that's the fun thing about the goals and manifestations list, is like, you're still writing down things that you can take action towards that have to do with you actively pursuing the life that you want to create. But at the same time, you're leaving room for magic. You're leaving room for the universe, for God to come in and to create a miracle for you. You're leaving room for things that you don't necessarily know how they're going to happen, but you believe in your heart that if it's meant for you, it will happen for you. Okay, my loves, those are my tips for setting monthly goals. I hope this video has been super helpful. Go ahead and leave a comment below if it has. Let me know what your categories are for your goals this month, and maybe one of the goals that you're working on. We can hold ourselves accountable to our goals if you put that down below, and we can check in at the end of April and see how we did with our April goals. I want to thank you so much for watching this video, for being here, of course, my loves, and I will chat with you in the very next one. Bye.